we are back again. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to all our viewers across the globe. This is Uttarun Chaudhary from hashtag Go Viral to Stop the Virus. And with me, here's Snoa von Zoo. She is a master of lines. Her lines are profoundly simple and her paintings are profoundly moving. And today we have Snow with us, and we'd ask her about her paintings, about her life, and we will talk to her about this amazing fact that her name is not real. Her name is not really Snow von Zoo. There's a story behind it. So, Snow, can you quickly take us through the story one more time, please?
Yes, I can try. I was explaining that I made this name with 2 words. Snoa, which was a towel, the name of a towel from a famous Swedish brand. And because I like the fact that it was describing something very casual and not very useful at the same time. And the other word, "ze," is coming from my first name, which is Rodriguez. That's a Spanish name.
Okay.
Yes. My family was from Spain.
Okay.
Ancestors are from Spain.
I understand.
So this is a name which I created to have fun.
Oh, wonderful. So it's very rare to find someone who creates his own name. And so I must say that, Snoa does not like being called an artist. She thinks that she does not make a living by art. She's a copywriter in an advertising agency. And so she likes and she paints just for fun. She paints to release her inner emotions. And she can't, one day can't pass without a painting for Snoa. She has to paint every day. So, when we spoke to her, she said that, see, I don't make a living as an artist. So I said, an artist is not someone who makes a living through art. An artist is someone who can't live without art. So, but we'll still call Snoa a painter. So, Snoa, let me ask you that you've been, all around the world since your childhood, right? You were, as a child, you were in Morocco for a very long time, for 7 years, and then you moved to France, and then you moved to England as well. So, if you could tell me for a moment, how has those countries, how has your journey influenced you as an artist?
Well, it's difficult what you get from traveling. It's deep inside you, and sometimes you're not aware that your travels are modeling you, they are making you, but sometimes you can realize that many years later, or when you go back to the country, you realize how much this country has been present in your life, and how much it has been able to nourish many things you've been doing without thinking.
Can you talk a little louder?
Yes,
please.
I'll try.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. So I'm sure that Morocco, which is a very important country for me, is very present in my everyday life perception and my creations. But also the other countries where I've been, like England, Ivory Coast, and India, because especially for Ivory Coast and India, it's such a big experience. It's so different from our life in France. And so I'm sure it's very present in the way I I see things and I feel things.
Wonderful. So you spoke about something called universal sensitiveness, which is there inside you. So which means that you like to go around the world and observe different cultures and imbibe them and use them in your art. Is that true?
Yes, I haven't been able to travel as much as I would like, but also I have another experience in my life because I have been teaching French for foreign people for
Okay.
17 years
Oh, wonderful.
in Toulouse, here in Toulouse, and so in my classrooms I had people from all over the world, so I was traveling through them also. And for me, it's a very strong feeling that I don't really belong to where I live. I I like to go out. I like to be with stranger people.
Right.
And I feel home when I'm away from home. It's very
I
different.
understand. That's
Very
that's so interesting. That's so interesting that you feel at home when you're actually away from home.
yeah.
So that makes for a very interesting story. That's how stories are born. Like that line that you just said, I feel home when I'm away from home. It sounds like the starting line of a novel. So
Mhm.
I would ask you that you are a copywriter. You're a copywriter of an advertising agency in France, and see, which brings me to the question that did you like weaving stories through your words? Do you have a knack for telling stories? Because whenever I look at your art, I find a story there. I find a story that makes me smile. So if you could tell us a little about your journey as a writer and your propensity towards stories, please.
Uh, um, when I was a child, I really liked writing poems and
Right.
imagining stories, and I was good at this at school. Um,
Mm-hmm.
well, in French we call that rédaction, and that's we get a subject and we have to
Yeah.
imagine something and a story behind these
Oh,
few words, and
okay.
I really like that, and I still write today, but I don't have time to write as much as I would like. But then when I draw, I try to tell very small stories. Sometimes I fail, and sometimes maybe I achieve that. But
Mm-hmm.
I like the way that a draw can tell a story, and each person will that is
Interpreted their own way.
yes, and is able to imagine something different. Well, this is
Right. Yeah, this is so interesting. I mean, I really like the fact that in France they teach you to imagine. I believe in school they give you an object or a picture, and then they ask you to imagine the story behind it, right? Yes, and that is so inspiring because see, when I think of France, in our concept of France is it is a land of art and poetry,
mhm.
and it is also the land of imagination. And so, I mean, it is so refreshingly beautiful to know that children in France are taught to imagine. It is in their curriculum that they're taught to imagine. They're taught to imagine stories. Well, this is so wonderful. So, I would move to the next question, Snow. That is, your art is profound in its simplicity. It is extremely simple and yet extremely profound. Your art talks about emotions, talks about families, talks about your experiences, talks about glances and smiles and how you perceive the world. And so I would like to ask you that what is art to you? Because you create art every day, isn't it? So what is art to you?
um, I don't know if it's art every day. I need to create something every day. I
Okay.
need, I need to be in a creative process every day. So that's part of my job as
Mm-hmm.
a writer. But when I finish my job, drawing is my after work time.
Right.
It's my after work pleasure. So I try to draw like in my bus journey, in my before I sleep, or while I'm sitting next to my daughter, waiting for her to get asleep.
Right.
I usually draw when she's sleeping. Well, so I need to draw something every day. It can be a very small draw, but I need to do something like that.
Wonderful. So it is a part of your life, right? Creativity, art is a part of your life. You feel that a day would be incomplete if you do not create. Is that
Yes,
so?
that's exactly what I think. So then I don't put words on it. It's just something I need to do, like eating, like it's. I need that to just to feel alive and yes, to feel complete. This is the word.
I understand. That is incredible because as a writer, I'm an advertising person as well. So I understand that every day we are given briefs and we have to create work and we have to create ideas out of thin air and it becomes a habit. So
Yeah.
if there one day passes where I do not create, the day feels empty completely. So I completely get your point. So
You
uh,
understand?
so I would like to move to the next question, Snoa. The fact is, who have you been influenced by as a painter? Have you been influenced as you were talking about being influenced by tribal art? And so, if you could talk a little about your travels and how you bring back aromas and colors, and has that influenced your art?
Yes. All experiences I get, they are nourishing my growing, but also what I read and what I see in exhibitions, in books, and I'm interested by very primitive tribal cultures. So it's interesting because some people said about my drawings, it reminds me of Egypt, the Egypt.
Egyptian paintings.
Yes, and it's very funny because I wasn't thinking about this when I was drawing. I was more thinking about uh, Indian tribal art from India, but
Right.
people saw Egypt. So
Mm-hmm.
it's funny. So maybe unconsciously, I was influenced by something I have seen or read about Egypt. But it's difficult to know where inspiration comes from. But I'm not a talkative person. I'm a very introvert person, and I
I
spend a lot
understand.
of time observing things. So when you observe a lot, you get inspiration from lots of things around you when you travel, but also in everyday life. So
Mm-hmm.
I spend a lot of time watching things and
And getting inspired from
yes,
those things.
yes,
Wonderful, wonderful. So that is the power of observation does make a difference. It makes you completely different from a lot of other people because that is what painters have. Painters have that insight. The painters have that vision. So I would like you to ask another question, if you're okay with it, Snow. What do you want to achieve through your paintings, through your art? When you create art every day, what are you trying to achieve? Is it a release of your expressions, or is it something that calms you down? What do you think your art? What do you think you achieve through your art?
I think both answers are correct. both suggestions are correct, because drawing is like yoga for me.
Oh,
I've been practicing yoga for a time, not
okay.
really, but and when I draw, I feel so well. I feel so focused on my subject, and like floating, like, you know, nothing is disturbing me, nothing is annoying me, nothing is. I'm just like in meditation posture.
I
So
understand.
I like this feeling. And also, um, as I told you before, I need this to feel complete. So I don't know if I have something to achieve, but I needed to enjoy life, my everyday life, and also because I'm not very comfortable with talking. I've always been someone very shy and very um, I'm not
Very quiet and introvert,
quiet
right?
and shy. So drawing is or writing are my best ways to express something.
I understand. So it is your way of expression because you, rather than spoken words, you would express your emotions through writing, through letters, and of course through lines. I would ask you one more thing. No, your paintings are very minimalistic, as I've seen. They have broad lines, like single strong lines, solid colors, and they're very minimal. They're very minimal. They have say maybe two or three subjects, and very thick and marked color differences. I mean, why is that?
I don't know. I feel I'm exploring things. So the more I grow, the more I how can I say it? I'm trying to find my own style, and
Right.
and I'm trying. I work every day to try to find the correct style to express what I have to express, and something which would be very personal, because we are surrounded by real artists and very talented people, and it's difficult to find your own path. And so I'm trying to find what I really want to express, and the way which will be very close to, yes, but very specific to me, not
Right.
not too close to other people's styles. And so it's an everyday exercise to try to elaborate something and deepen something. And so this is what I'm doing. I'm just trying to go nearer to my own style.
Soul. Right, right, and find out your own style. Wonderful. So, as you said that now when people look at your art, they feel that there's a sense of there's an Egyptian influence somewhere. I would say that because the day you said that you were tested for COVID, you painted this woman with a snake going through the nose because they usually take swabs. And when I looked at it, it gave me the feeling that I'm looking at an image of Cleopatra with the adder, like
Oh,
right. So it did make me feel like that. And so when I think about your paintings, like the one with the mask, I and many others with where women with straight jet black hair, it does. So I mean, have you in Morocco, have you been exposed to Egyptian art?
well, in Morocco, you know,
Can you
uh,
speak up a little, please?
in Morocco, I was a very young child, so I don't remember. I remember being exposed to Indian arts, Indian culture in Morocco, because yes, by the time I was there, the Indian community was quite important. Yes, and so I was very attracted by the saris and the Indian people. I don't know why. It was very strong for me, a very strong attraction. And I've never been to Egypt, so I don't know. Yes, it's funny because the way I draw people with the profiles also makes people think of Egyptian style, but it's not a premeditate. I don't know if
it just happens.
Yes.
Right. And another thing that I find in your art is a very strong, positive joy of life, joie de vivre. As you say it in French. So, as in, I have always felt that no matter what you've been through in your life, you've always found out a positive green in your experience, and you've taken it out, and you've spoken about it. Even during the pandemic, your painting has been extremely positive. So I would like you to ask that. See, when the pandemic was raging through France, and so what were you what did you go through, and what did you think as a painter? What did you think your duty was as a painter when the pandemic was literally going through the country and everyone was anxious and upset?
Yes. Our president very strong.
You need to speak up a little bit. I'm sorry.
At the beginning of the pandemic in France, our president used a very strong expression because he said, "We are on this is a war. We are on a war."
Okay.
And people got very frightened and anxious, and there has been lots of debates about this expression and this term of war, and it was probably very important to show that in this very difficult time, maybe it's a war, maybe it's not, maybe this is an abusive word, but anyway, difficult time, and especially in certain countries, and especially in certain families, and especially in certain areas. But it's important to have hope, and also to think that something better can emerge from that, because otherwise, if we don't try to express that, it's like, okay, this is the end of everything. This is the end, and so we have, I think, maybe the responsibility of the artists in this time is to show that hope is still there, and beauty is still there, and solidarity is still there, and so we have to not only artists, all the people with the capacity to express something in any way. I think we have the responsibility, like before our children, also to say, okay, it's difficult, okay, it's maybe frightening, but something good can come out of all that. And like as a parent, as an artist, as a citizen, we have, I think, this responsibility to be in a positive approach. I don't know.
I completely understand, and I agree with you from the core of my heart, because this is something that I've believed in, because this is the foundation of my belief right now. During the pandemic, I've always felt that it is the worst time to be in. I mean, this is like the worst crisis that we've faced, and trust me, even in a pandemic, it always pays to be positive. As a creative person, it is a creative person has the capacity of taking a situation and turning it into something positive. And so I feel that as creative people, we should do the same, and we should not only create and change the situation into something positive, we should also help other people who are feeling down and low. And so and we can do that through our creations and through experiences, and by talking about it, because other people might just feel comfortable when they hear our experiences. And so I would just ask you a very personal question, Snow, that during the pandemic, I believe the pandemic and the lockdown has been a particularly, it's been a good experience for you, because you came very close to your family. If I would be glad if you can shed some light on that.
Yes. The lockdown has been very special for us, because we are a special family with a daughter who came from India 2 years ago. And so it's being together, the three of us, for so many time, so many hours a day in a closed flat, from the morning to the evening. We've been enjoying time together and learning each other better. So it was a time which was very close to the time we've spent when we came back from India with her, because we were the three of us at home. And so it was like living again this experience, but with a better knowledge of each other. But,
Right.
So it's been very, and also we've been drawing a lot. The three. Yes, it's been very well. I was working at home for for the agency, but
Right.
still I was every night and the weekends, and I was drawing with my husband and my daughter. We've been sharing this also during the lockdown, drawing together.
Right.
Fantastic. Yes, it was. It's a great pleasure for me to draw together.
Right. And so this lockdown has actually been extremely, beneficial, because for you, you've and your husband and your daughter, you formed this amazing bond, because right now schools are closed, offices were closed, and you were at home, you were together, you were painting, and that was incredible. So today, what we'll do is we'll talk about 4 of your lockdown paintings, and I would bring them up right here, right now, and we'll hear your story. Okay, let me share the screen, and give me a second when I get this here. Okay, this is right. This is your first painting. I mean, in the series of 4, and these are from your albums. And I have called it "Make Choices Go Viral." But, and you have this woman with a mask. So,
Yeah.
would you want to talk about this painting a little bit?
Yes, I was drawing in a time where in France it was impossible to get masks, and also there was a controversy. People were saying, even from the government, that masks were useless. On the contrary, some doctors and medical leaders were saying masks could be useful.
Right.
But anyway, we could not have any mask, and people were trying at home to create masks with what they could.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you could see on the internet, there were so many parodies. How do you say? People were making masks with some stupid stuff and some creative materials and anything.
Right.
So
Right.
this is what inspired me with this bunny.
So in this one, I see there's a tag hanging from the mask which says AFNOR.
Yes,
What is that?
this is a label in France. We have this label to guarantee the quality of the mask, the ability of the mask to protect you from the virus.
Right. So, trust me, when I look at this image, I feel that this was created at a point of time when we were literally confronting a choice, that to wear a mask or not to wear a mask, to what to do. I mean, mask is just a symbol, right? When the pandemic hit us, we were faced with so many choices that we did not, and most of the choices were uninformed, because we did not know about the virus at all. We had no idea about its physiology. We had no idea about what the virus could actually do. People were speculating, people were dying, people were afraid. But even at that point of time, I guess making a choice was essential. So I believe, the fact that this image has an element of satire in it, but when I look at it, I feel that this image is telling us, it's reminding us of that moment where we stood in the cusp of the pandemic and we did not know what to do, but we decided to make a choice. We decided to, make our own masks. We decided to, do whatever we could to survive.
Try to decide what was good for us in a complete mess in the informations. It was difficult to know what was good, what was bad, what was useless, what was useful, and so everyone was trying to take a choice. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, this is a story of the strength of the human will, because see, when faced with uncertainty, when, the ancient man was faced with a thunderclap, or maybe faced with fire, or faced with animals, I mean, he or she did not know how to react, but human beings found out. Human beings evolved because human beings made that choice. So I feel that in this image, I mean, the element of making a choice to wear a mask, to choose to do what is good for us, makes us human. I mean, that is something that's coming out of this, and that is my interpretation, and I love this. So, with this note, let me show you another image of another person with a mask, right here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is the god Anubis, the Egyptian god.
Maybe I was. I lived in Egypt in another life, in a previous life, because yes.
Right. So it's again, we're back in that conversation where the concept of beautiful Egyptian art somehow makes an appearance in your art. So okay, so we'll move to your next art, which is this one, right? And we're calling it "Make Every Day Go Viral." And here we can see an image which is almost like a bottle, which is almost like a can of milk, where a lot of people are together. So this is the lockdown, isn't it? Would you want to talk about it a little?
Yes, it's the lockdown. The way people were closed in their homes, in their flats, in their families, and with strong differences, with strong how can I say, people were living a marvelous time. People were living an awful time, being locked down with people maybe they dislike, or they are frightened about, or so during the lockdown I was always very sad when I was thinking that probably children were living a hell, or some women were living a hell, being confined with dangerous men, or so it's incredible how people lived the lockdown very differently. Some people were in beautiful houses in the countryside, and some were in small flats with 4, 5, 6 persons. And
Right.
so, and this is promiscuity and this being together when we maybe you don't have chosen to live to stay together, and so well we could say many things, but
Right, I understand. And and what I really like about this is when we see the negative spaces between those people. I mean, if you see the negative space, I believe each negative space is different, and that space has a story of its own. So this is beautiful. Like, I can see an hourglass here,
oh
right? Yes, which maybe which speaks about the time that is passing. I can see like a small, I can see a small shoe here, like with the heel and the front of the shoe. And there are like so many different ways to interpret it. And so I believe that is what the lockdown is about. When every day when you're home, you're looking at different things. You're looking at your partner, you're looking at the person you're sharing the flat with, you're looking at your family, and you're looking at the difference and the similarities that you have with those people. And the
yes,
similarities make you feel closer, and the difference also has a different meaning. So as you can see the difference, I mean, the difference between the different family members have come out in very different interesting shapes and negative spaces. And if you want to, you can read a meaning in all these small different negative spaces. And so that is what makes the lockdown special. It makes every day creative. At that point of time when you're home, when you're by yourself, I mean, even when you look at the space between you and your spouse, or the space between you and your family, that space can be translated into creative space as well. So this is what makes this painting extremely special for me, and this is how I read it.
yeah, it's interesting. Thank you.
With your permissions, we'll move to the next one.
Okay.
All right, yeah. Make the first step go viral. I guess this was the third in the series where the lockdown was gradually being lifted, and
Yes.
people were afraid to move out. So, would you want to talk about this?
Yes, it was this very special time when we knew we could go out again, we could go back to life again, and there was a very special feeling for some people, and also for me, that I wasn't sure. I was really happy. I wasn't like shouting, "Yeah, it's great! We can go again. We can go outside. We can go to many places without being, without watching the time and all." But no, I wasn't feeling that. I was very shy to go out, and it took me some days to go out and realize, this very special time of the lockdown is over, and life is coming back to, maybe, I don't know if it's back to the former life, but so with this drawing, I wanted to express this shyness some people had, or this anxiety post-COVID, post-lockdown anxiety to
Yes.
go back to life.
Yes, yes, that this is so interesting. You said the post-COVID anxiety to come back to life. To me, when I look at this image, I see a womb. I see it's almost like after lockdown when people are coming out of their houses, it's almost like they're being born again. So they're coming out of the womb into life. And Otto Rank had a theory called the trauma of birth, that the trauma a child goes through during the process of birth, it frames the rest of their lives. And so I believe the lockdown, the post-lockdown syndrome also signified a rebirth, a
Mm.
renaissance.
Even
Again, when a person could actually uh, come out of his or her own shell or his or her own womb as a different person. So I believe this is also an extremely positive painting where you're showing rebirth, you're showing the scope of change, the scope of completely rediscovering ourselves. When we take our first step again, we become new people, we become maybe our own reflections, but a better reflection. I mean, this is, trust me, and you've used so few elements in it. There's just a box and a woman inside. And through that, you've told an incredible story. So, as I said, that, your propensity towards stories finds an extremely, beautiful version in here.
thank you.
All right, let me move to the next one. With your permission, the last one.
Hmm.
All right, this one. Yes, it says make real life go viral. And, we see this image where the woman is standing on top of a coffee cup, ready to jump. So, would you want to talk about this a little?
Yes, this was the day when the coffee bars, cafe, where the cafe and the swimming pools um, were allowed to open again.
Okay.
And so it was the same day, even if in the swimming pool it's quite difficult still to go to swim because you have special times and so on. But the cafes, they are so important in France, in the French culture. And so immediately all the people went back to cafes and went back to the terraces to um, to be connected to their French life, French culture again. Because I think really the in France, I don't know if you've ever been to France.
No, I've not.
Okay, but in London, maybe it's a bit different, but people, they like to spend hours in cafes and talk
Yeah,
about
in London,
everything.
the pubs, they
Yeah,
spend time in public houses, and in Paris and in the rest of France, they spend time at the cafe. Yes.
yeah. They
Yeah.
they they spend hours talking there and with friends and with people they sometimes people they don't know, but it's a very social important an important social place.
Yes.
Um, so it was a great moment when the cafes were open again, and so for me it was very important to draw something on this special day, and
Hmm.
I thought it was nice to show this little woman trying to swim to jump in her coffee cup and
Right.
go back to life.
That is beautiful. I mean, let me tell you this, that the fact that we also have a saying in English called "wake up and smell the coffee," and the fact is that when real life has finally come back, when after the pandemic is over, people are ready to dive in. I mean, there's also a sense of anxiety, but there's also a sense of vibrancy, and I see that vibrancy in very detailed, in the entire background where you've almost used, these small mosaic-like features everywhere. I mean, they're like, you know,
Yeah, dot.
semicircular dots. The dots, they follow a pattern, and it's extremely intricate. If we look close, I mean, we'll see there are like countless such patterns forming mosaic-like dots. This is very Moroccan, isn't it?
Yes, I like these. I like these patterns, pattern styles from the mosaic, and so I like to use it a lot in my drawings. Sometimes it's how can I say, by hand. I mean,
Mhm.
it's very irregular, and sometimes I use some um, um, logiciel, softwares to make it more regular. It depends,
Right.
but I like to work with patterns.
Right. It's so beautiful, and it is the best part is if I look at it from a distance, I wouldn't know that the patterns existed. But I have to, go really close to see the patterns. I'll take the viewers, a little closer to this. Viewers, I would please let's see the patterns here, see the number of dots here, and see how intricate this is. This is Snoa Zoo, and see in right here thousands and thousands of dots creating semicircular patterns which come together like Moroccan mosaic. So if we zoom out, I mean, see from a distance you wouldn't even know that these patterns are there. See, it seems like an off-white background, but once you zoom in again, you see the magic. All right. On this note, we would come back to our screens again, and we'll come back to the way we were. This is so interesting, Snow, that your journey through the pandemic and how you've featured it in art and how you've made us all feel incredible as you took us through this journey. So, Snow, I would like to ask you that see, there are artists who are watching, and there'll be artists who will be watching this interview, and artists in India right now, artists in many different parts of the world right now are facing problems because of the pandemic. First of
Mm.
all, there are lack of exhibitions. There are lack of commissioned work. There's also an economic recession, and so altogether, artists are facing trouble. And right now, the pandemic is raging through India. As we
Yeah.
speak, the pandemic is literally ripping the country apart. But we are trying to be as strong as we can. We're trying to be as resilient as we can, and we're trying to fight it as strongly as we can as Indians. And so I would ask you, Snoa, that as a painter, what would be your message to the painters across the world, painters who are facing the pandemic, painters who've come out of the pandemic, and painters who are beginning to look at life in a new way? What is your message to those painters, please?
Wow. uh, well, I'm very anxious about the situation in India. Um, because it's my daughter's country, I'm quite attentive of. Um, uh, I'm trying to get informed, uh, and I know it's very difficult, and I don't know how it's going to, um, uh, how much the situation is going to affect the country and the people. So it's difficult sometimes not to be pessimistic, of course, because it's not over. The virus is still here, and even if in France things are getting better, but still now we have new cases, new infected people. So it's not finished at all. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't
Mhm.
know how much uh, the impact, the economic impact is going to be, um, how strong it's going to be. So
Right.
it's very, there's a lot of, the anxiety is how to say, it's still very present. If you think of the situation, if you you know, if we are very selfish in France, we can be happy because we can go out again, we can go to the cafes, we can go to the beach, we can go. But I think it's a very short term feeling, and we will be we will have again to how can I say, we will be challenged again, I think, very soon, because the virus is going to come back, probably. So, as I said before, I think we have. It's going to be very difficult for many people, but we have to be sure that in this kind of chaos, we need to be strong, and we need to find deep resources to stay positive and to bring joy as we can to people around us. And yes, it's difficult for the artists that live from their hearts, and because theaters are impacted, and companies are impacted, and museums are impacted, and so on. But still, I think it's important to keep on saying, keep on expressing through heart that something positive can emerge from all this experience. But my English is not fluent enough to express what I say.
No, that is fine. That is fine. That is absolutely fine. And Snoa Wanzu, tells the artists across the world that right now the situation is difficult, the situation is tough, but one has to be positive. One has to create positive art, and one has to also inspire. This is the responsibility of an artist. And and I respect that, and I sincerely respect that, and I feel that Snoa is worried about the condition of India. But I must say, Snow, that please don't worry. As a nation, we're extremely strong. We'll come out positive. We'll come out better. We'll come out stronger out of this pandemic. I'm sure. And finally, before ending this interview, I'll ask you one last question, Snow. That hashtag Go Viral to Stop the Virus is an initiative where we've connected with over 2,500 people across more than 55 countries. Actually, it's 61 countries right now, where we've invited artists to come and collaborate with us. And in our own nation, thousands of artists, students, men, women, and children have collaborated, and they have created art, poetry, music, and sculptures and photographs, which are through which they've translated the shape of the virus into something positive. So you're a part of our movement as well, because you've joined us today here. And I would like to ask you, what is your message to us? What is your message to hashtag Go Viral to stop the virus?
Well, I feel very honored and happy to be part of this fantastic initiative. And I would like to know, how did you get this idea? Because
it is. I got it from my own personal crisis, because see, I would say this, that when my daughter was born in India, because we are based in London, but we could not go back after the pandemic, because after our daughter was born, because the day we were supposed to fly, about 5 or 6 hours before our flight took off, all the international flights were cancelled, and so we were stranded. And we were in India, and we couldn't go back. So I was worried about my wife's job. I was worried about my job, and because the economic recession was rampant, and I was worried about the health of my family. I was worried about the health of my child. My father was unwell at that point of time. So altogether, I was going through, this tremendous crisis. And at that point of time, I realized that, as a creative person, I should do something about it. The doctors are fighting the pandemic upfront. People are donating, but what can a creative person do? So I thought of creating a movement where we take the virus. The virus is good at spreading death. It's good at spreading anxiety. We
Mm.
take the virus and we use its strength against it. We take the virus and make it spread happiness. We take the virus and make it spread connections. We take the virus and make it spread art. And so that is when I kind of created this movement, and this is what inspired me to get artists and musicians and photographers and people from all over the world together, and I requested them that try creating as many and as positive art forms you can using the shape of the virus, translate it into beautiful art forms, uh, create incredible art during the pandemic. And people were already creating art during the pandemic, like you have, because deep inside I also believe in this. I've said this many times, I'll say it again, that people are like sunflowers. If they see a glimpse of light, if they see some glimpse of hope, they would turn towards it. And so so when I found people creating these amazing pieces of artworks during the pandemic, and I realized that this is one way of getting them together and showing the world, connecting them with other artists, where artists can exchange their ideas and they can actually inspire each other and inspire people who are having anxiety attacks. They would look at these beautiful pieces of art and might and that might, even for once, bring a smile on their faces.
Yeah.
And when that happens, I feel that okay, I've done my job. That I've achieved what I want to achieve. I see one smile, and so that is how I began, and that is how this movement is spreading. It's still spreading, and right now we have our first offline world exhibition. It is happening at Portland, Oregon, in the United States. It's being done. It's happening because of Dr. Hurst, who's uh, an art historian in the State University of New York, and he was really interested when he saw these art forms, and then he selected five of them and then this exhibition began. So every month we'll have five artists who will be exhibited at Portland, and every next month there'll be five new artists, and this will go on for till the threat of the virus is over. And we want to do this in all six habitable continents, and that way, people would get to see the artists and they'll get to see their art up close and personal, and also the artists will get an international exposure. So this is how it's going, and let's see where it goes.
Yeah, that's wonderful, and it's because of what we said before, the world sensitiveness. Yeah, this is a wonderful experience.
Yes, it's a great experience to get in touch with people from across the world, learning the languages. And I was talking to a friend of mine called Eugene Skeef, who's a celebrated poet and activist and musician from South Africa, who's in England right now. Like there are, when I interact with my artist collaborators from Africa, I learn so much. Like there's this language called Usa, where you use a click, as this language has these beautiful clicks. And so I was fascinated to learn it, and I was learn it as in learn one or two words. When I hear them speak, I am fascinated. And so I'm fascinated to know that in various different languages how the script is written, because we collect handwritten poetry from all over the world. We've had people writing French poetry, writing poetry in Armenian, writing poetry in the Lohia language, which is one of the dialects of Bantu in Kenya. So we've been fascinated by so many different aspects of culture and how they frame the world. And it is great that the pandemic is offering this opportunity in which we are exchanging the ideas. Thank you so much, Snoa. It's been a great time. I mean, you've spoken a lot, and I guess I've spoken a lot as well. Thank you. It's been a
Thank you
very good
very
insight.
much. It was a great pleasure.
Thank you. And we are honored to have you here today. And please give my regards to your daughter and your husband. And we wish
Thank
you
you.
a wonderful life. We wish you all the health and happiness and all the light in the universe.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for being from hashtag vital to stop the virus. Thank you again. You have
Thank,
a wonderful day.
thanks. Bye.
Bye bye. With this note, we will end here. Bye bye. Take care.